Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Zach. Today we're going to be looking at ECOMI price to OMI stuff, VeVe stuff, and some GaryVee stuff. I want to see if something that I saw recently from GaryVee, how it might apply to VeVe NFTs. Before we do though, of course, the OMI price right now, 0.002828 on a low of 0.002565 and a high of 0.002885. Now, let's jump straight into it because it's a 48-minute video roughly, and then I also have some other stuff to go over, and it's currently 10 PM already. I might actually make myself some coffee, but let's get into it.
This is gonna
In fact, let's get the coffee now. Okay, we got the coffee, let's jump into it.
create community under collectability in a way we've never seen. May 5th, before we
Hold on, what is this exactly? We came from the Future podcast, hosted by DCL Blogger. Let's get into it.
May 5th, before we watch this video, May 5th, I'm dropping it. Huge project.
So this was before the GaryVee NFT project, okay.
Yeah, please. So this isn't just the art. There's a lot of access and community filled with as much Ethereum.
Okay, here
Gary
we go.
V, how are you, man? Thanks for coming.
I'm well, Maddie. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Awesome. So like the NFT industry is blowing up. Everything's going crazy. I want to get into it, but before that, I always like to start with the story, the culture. Like, where did you come from? A lot of people know your story, but where did you come from? How did it start? How did you get here?
Yeah, not to belabor a story I'd like to tell a lot. So, Soviet immigrant, came to the US, Queens, Dover, Edison, New Jersey, very East Coast kid, grew up very entrepreneurial, very pop culture, collectible, work ethic kid, lemonade stands, shoveling snow, washing cars, but then very into comic books, toys, Star Wars, wrestling, G.I. Joe, Transformers, Thundercats, GoBots, Smurfs, Snorks, Get Along Gang.
It's the way that Gary's said this, like he said his autobio probably in like 5 minutes about 1,000 plus, maybe 10,000 times.
Max Headroom, Alf, Punky Brewster, and then really made a living.
Obviously when he's asked to, not just, I mean, he was literally just asked to. It's not like, he just starts rambling. Like.
Teenager selling sports cards, and then also being a arbitrage kid, right? Buy something at a closeout for $1, go to a flea market, sell it for $4. Got dragged into my dad's liquor store, took a lot of those skills and became very passionate, knowledgeable about the wine business. Had an incredible 15-year career in the wine business, building one of the big e-commerce wine retail stores in America. Launched winelibrary.com in 1997. And really built a big business for my dad. And really am proud of that. And then kind of in my early to mid 30s, decided to get into Web 2.0 very heavily. So, I launched, for me, NFTs is really 3.0. 1.0 was 95, 96. When I'm like, oh, this internet thing's gonna be big. MySpace, Friendster, YouTube, then Twitter, Facebook became 2.0 for me, where I became GaryVee, the wine guy, not just a kid that built a big business in the wine business through e-commerce. And then that's how I feel about NFTs. It's a 3.0 for me. I feel like this is, a new era for me. It's funny. I never thought of myself as a speaker, an author, a personality. I was 30. I was past my 30th birthday, Maddie, when I made my first piece of internet content. So the whole Gary,
what was it?
It was episode 1 of Wine Library TV.
Nice.
Can I just butt in, because I am reacting to a video and stuff. Something that you probably won't have noticed that I definitely do is with crypto NFT channels in general. And I could be wrong about this, but something I've noticed as a characteristic of, I think, the time and the level and the stage of evolution within an industry is content creation, right? Covering it, essentially coverage, broadcast, etc., which is what I'm doing myself. Well, as I speak, I have my recording software on my right screen and all this stuff, right? Now, thankfully for me, I came from gaming, so from like a decade ago, basically, which is why I have a setup all around me now with many screens and this, that, and the other, right? What I notice a lot with crypto people is they're using the Blue Yeti. This looks like the Blue Yeti to me. And it's endearing because the Blue Yeti is what a lot of gamers started on. And I see a lot of people using the same microphones that gamers back in 2013, 2014 was really popular. I do wonder how long it's going to take for, like, you know, the kit, you know, the standard meta of kit and broadcast to be upgraded. And by the way, this is also what they're doing here. I'm not saying that like it's bad or anything. It's just really interesting to me seeing how, like I say, how early on this stuff is. Personally, I use a Shure SM7B. I used to use a, pardon me, I used to use a Blue Yeti from the age of about 15 to maybe, actually, I used a Blue Yeti for a long time. I used to be Blue Yeti from about the age of 16, actually, I think, to roughly around 18. So, yeah, definitely endearing.
What's interesting about this, as I'm doodling away here in the midst of my project, obviously there's investor Gary, and I'll invest in platforms and in art, but creator Gary, these doodles I'm making, this is much more natural to me than personality Gary. I've been a doodler and a drawer and a kind of like a character creator my whole life. Obviously I did it a ton as a kid. As I became a liquor store owner, there was less opportunity for it. But something I don't talk a lot about is when I was 14 to 18, one of the biggest reasons my dad valued me was because I made all the signs for the store on paper and Sharpie, and would literally make the signs like Kendall Jackson Chardonnay, $8.99, cross out, $6.99. But I was creative. It wasn't just the words. I would draw a little wine glass. I would draw a turkey for Thanksgiving by the Beaujolais. And I would use, ironically, Sharpies, which is why I think I'm good at it right now, because I made tens of thousands of signs for my dad's liquor store. And that's, you know, it's fun because Web 2.0 brought out something.
It essentially sounds like he's talking about it coming full circle. You know, it was something he was natural at, and that, you know, he was able to help his dad's business with, you know, early on, and now he's bringing it to essentially a whole new era of web, obviously 3.0.
In me that I didn't know. NFTs is bringing out something in me that I know better about myself, but the world knows very little unless you're a hardcore GaryVee nut and watched every daily V and weekly V and see it in little moments where I draw in the dew of a window.
Yeah, that would be me.
Or if I'm in meetings.
That would be me.
That's my story.
Cool, man. That's very rich. I didn't know the doodling culture was just so rich, the history of it. But I can't imagine how big the NFT aha moment was for you, because it looks like the industry was created for the collectors, the investors, the flippers, the people that went to school and, you know, bought and sold things and loved arbitrage. First of all, what is it about arbitrage or flipping something and making that $10 profit in between that you love so much? Because that's something I have as well, and I just can't explain it. And secondly, how big was the aha moment?
It was the thrill. It's the thrill of, do you see something other people's don't? You know, I was raised in a manner where, you know, money was a source of roof over the head, food. I think you know this about me probably, because we've, especially lately, really enjoyed interacting with each other. Like, I'm not in it for the Rolex or the Corvette, or it just, you know, I don't like stuff, but I love the game. And like, does my brain see something? And, you know, I keep going back to garage sales more than sports cards. Let me tell you why, Maddie. NFTs are going to be a lot of eye of the beholder art. Even when there's things like Pokemon, there'll probably be multiple projects, different, you know, and I was great at garage selling pre-eBay in the 90s because I would see a Mork and Mindy or Happy Days thing and I could see it. There was no value yet. eBay hadn't come out yet. But I just knew the pop culture reference of it. You know, I was big on board games, for example. You know, like those would be lunch boxes. I remember buying a ton of lunch boxes. I ended up being very right about this. Metal lunch boxes ended up being good. You know, I just understood nostalgia, you know, and so I like storytelling and I love all this stuff. And yeah, I mean, you're right. For me, this is crazy. I mean, this is not a joke, Maddie. The second I had my aha moment. So the ahas started in the winter of 19. You know, it's funny. In 2016, Aaron Battalion really educated me in a hotel room at South by Southwest about Ethereum, and I bought Ethereum.
Nice.
And I really believed in it. I was like, okay, this Bitcoin thing, because I bought Bitcoin 2 years earlier, that may be the thing. But I remember thinking, but it might not be. You know, like who knows which currency wins? Obviously, it did go on to kind of win. But I remember thinking, even if it does, this Ethereum thing's really interesting because it's not current. And I'm not really a financier. I actually don't really I didn't go into the ICO altcoin universe because I don't like it. Not that I don't think it's important, not that I don't think it's profound, not that I don't think it's interesting. I have never bought a yen.
This is what I love about Gary, right? And it's something that I personally try to instill in my own personality and what I do. And, you know, he inspires me in this way, basically, is when there's something that he doesn't necessarily either understand or isn't interested in or something, he will say it like that. He won't dog on anything, you know? And I try to do the same thing. Like, I'm personally not honestly as interested in every crypto and, you know, keeping up to date with which exchanges different cryptos go to and, you know, how many, you know, what the supply is for every crypto, this, that, and the other, right? I'm interested in the business end that goes more towards the consumer, right? And Gary is very similar on that, I think, in that, you know, he doesn't, you know, when he's asked on news broadcasts about, you know, on mainstream news broadcasts like Fox or CNN or whatever it might be, MSNBC, etc., you know, he'll be asked, you know, do you think Doge is good? Do you think Ethereum's good, etc.? Obviously, he's early investor in both. But he doesn't talk about that like he knows a lot because he doesn't really care, I don't think, about that as much as he does what he does on a daily basis.
For a euro. I've never been interested in that. But buying a tchotchke and flipping it, buying a trading in all my sports cards for comic books and toys in late high school, that was a huge arbitrage. I was a baseball card dealer for 7 years. I started going to card shows and I'm like, I don't like the vibe. It feels like there's less people here. I don't like the vibe. And then I'm like, this comic book culture is blowing up. So I traded in all my sports cards for comics and toys. And I ended up being right, by the way. Cards collapsed a year later and comics and toys went up. And so, you know, I'm good at that game. I feel it. I feel the masses. And so it always has been in the back of my mind. I've been aware-ish.
That's also something that really fascinates me, is that he's able to flip. And to be very clear, if it's not already obvious, I'm a huge GaryVee fan, right? I wouldn't say I've grown up with him, but I definitely, you know, I'm in my early 20s now, you know, closer to my mid 20s than I would like to be. And I found him, I think when I was 18 years old, because I remember I was in my first job at the BBC back then, when I found him, and I was literally about to finish my contract, or maybe about 4 months away from finishing my contract, and decided to listen to what he had to say. Didn't like him at first, and I found him, but I love how he talks about this stuff. Like, I love how he's not emotional towards, you know, the fact is that, you know, he talks about sports card and moving towards another part, obviously comics and stuff. Now, a lot of people will literally ride something until it's dead, right? So, you know, he could have just tried to ride sports cars and make every last thing he could of it, but instead it goes to something else that actually makes more sense and is honestly a path of least resistance when it comes to, you know, finances and stuff like that. So that's stuff that really inspires me, because when I start, you know, YouTube channels or whatever it might be, I always, you know, there's definitely a level of investment that you put into any project that you're looking at. But if you're able to take a step back and like know that you've invested in something, but actually maybe that's not as important as something else is, that I'm going to go over, like being able to separate yourself. And it actually ties in a lot with ECOMI, right? If ECOMI doesn't do things that makes me interested, if they don't do things that excite me, that makes me think, oh, this is a good platform, this is what they're doing, it's good, I will move away. I will stop posting about it, or I'll make one video just saying, you know, unfortunately, this, and this is why I've, you know, stopped looking at OMI as much. You know, it was good while it lasted, but we're not on to the next thing now. I am not afraid to say that. That's not what's happening right now. But just something that I've definitely admired in Gary is being able to sort of identify things like that and move with it.
I started smelling some stuff. You know, I spoke to Roham in July about NBA Top Shot. I was like, that's interesting, you know, like, and so I was just like, there's something brewing. And then I had the luxury of December and January, last week of December, first week of January, to be off because I was still navigating VaynerX through the troubles of COVID. I think a lot of people don't realize that I'm the active CEO of a 1,500 person global marketing organization. And I mean active. Like I'm more operational than most CEOs to begin with, let alone what I think people perceive, which is I'm GaryVee and I'm a mascot and other people run the business. I run the business. And so I didn't have the time to dig in, but then I did in December, January. And the aha moment was like January 3rd, 4th, 5th. Like it was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And then I started.
Was it any specific product or any like moment you remember?
I remember Kevin Rose, the incredible internet cultural guy, founder of dig.com.
Okay. Of course, we've literally not only a week ago reacted to him speaking. I believe actually Kevin Rose was speaking with was at least on a panel kind of with the parent company of the marketing agency that ECOMI have partnered with.
Hit me up and I must either said something or he saw something or he just realized, I don't remember. I'll go look back at my IMs. He's like, what do you think about this CryptoPunks thing? And I was like, I'm not sure about that. Like, I didn't really know about it. And that was, I think, in December. And I just started reading everything. And 5 hours later, I'm like, fuck, this is like the OG Ethereum project. Oh, what? CR this and 721 and 20. I'm like, this is fucking rad. Digging. And then a month later, when I was like, oh shit, this is 100. This is gonna happen. I started thinking, and then I started spending a few more minutes on it. I was like, okay, here's my gut feeling. This is gonna happen like the internet happened in 95. But oh shit, Top Shot's doing well. These punks are gonna pop off. Everybody's gonna start an NFT project in the summer. I remember saying that. It's been the spring instead. And there's probably going to be a huge bubble like ICOs and like internet stocks in 2000. So, but I want to play because I don't want to just sit and think for 3 years. So let me buy punks because I feel like this is something that makes me understand. Like and this, one of our first interactions, on social, on a DM or something was that when I was like, I know you've been around this stuff, but I'm telling like it was like fun, right? And like I think, let me take this moment before I forget because I get into a flow. I think you're just a very good voice for this space. I see your tweets coming through, and I think I think probably the way we've connected, probably intuitively quickly with each other is I think we see a lot of things similarly. Is my intuition based at least on when you're tweeting? Like I think that the space is going to be all time, but that many of the current projects this exact second are incredibly vulnerable to being terrible investments. Call it Beanie Babies, call it pets.com, whatever you want to call it. That doesn't take away from the macro NFT moment.
Yep, definitely.
But it definitely is concerning. But I am, for example, the project I'm building, the way I'm thinking about the smart contracts, the access, the community, the things I'm doing, I'm thinking about this as a 45-year project. So even if
that was my question next. There's all these NFT projects. You said, they may kind of pop off. They may go to nothing, they may turn to dust. So what's the longevity plan? What's the X factor that keeps them relevant? What do you think?
I think
they're not doing right.
I think that it's the underlying smart contract. I think there'll be too much supply of the art, but I think the logic underneath it, the utility, the community, the access that IP and influencers and celebrities and humans and craftsmen and influencers and humans, the underlying value they bring underneath their token has incredible long-term ramifications. And I think you'll see in the next 18 months, people get dramatically more educated and the projects that are going to come out are going to be far more thoughtful.
I think NFTs will come to mean a lot more than what we see right now. And I think NFT it's a technology layer, right? It's like It's a token first. It's not an art piece. It's not a collectible. It's the token first.
It's and that token, whether that's a membership to a club or that's a VIP access rope or if that's a ticket, What's cool is that becomes give me 1 second. I apologize. That becomes a secondary derivative in a very powerful way. For example, sporting events tickets or concert tickets, right? Bob Dylan's most famous concert. I'm not a Bob Dylan enthusiast nor, understander of his collectible market. However, I have a very good feeling that a ticket stub from one of his most iconic conferences currently sells on eBay for a certain price. I'm fascinated that most of those tickets are gone. It's hard to connect. You know what I'm looking for, Maddie? That in 22 years, I meet someone new and I look at their public wallet, which will be as common as looking up someone on Google or their Instagram account. And I'm going to make a connection point with a new friend or acquaintance and be like, oh my God, we were both in Wimbledon in 2025.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand the social currency, the human psychology.
This right here is what, it's not the same thing, but, when we think about the social dynamic there, that is what the VeVeverse will run on, right? Is being able to, and to be fair, there's a lot more going on in the VeVeverse than what Gary has specifically said there, because it's also this whole gamifying things, being able to drive G-Rexes around is the common thing, being spoken to Trevor, lead content producer at ECOMI about. It will be really interesting to see though, how, I notice a lot of people, naysayers, for lack of a better term, talk about, why would they have this? Well, why does a tick on Instagram matter? Like, why does anything matter apart from the essentials like food, water, shelter, etc.? It's social currency, most of it, right? That's never going away. Social currency will never go away because we are community beings. That's what human beings are. We've always been social. The only thing that changes here is that the technology is advancing. That's literally the difference, which, it just means that this is essentially human behavior in a nutshell. Like, that's what I see with VeVeverse. So long as VeVe is able to scale with the mutable X and, its other stuff, whatever else they have to do, as long as they're able to be realistically technology, either they partner with a technology company that is at the top of its game, or they become that technology company for like AR, wearables, etc. I would guess that they'll partner with a wearables company for that. But once all the bricks are in place, that's exactly what this can be. This can be a place where, you can have whatever is valuable to you basically being seen by others. And that will be as similar as he's saying to checking people's Instagram. Like, why do you check people's Instagram accounts? And there will be many reasons. Some people will find it informational if they're watching like a business person. Some people will find it entertaining if they're watching skips, whatever. Oftentimes, though, people are following influencers. It's going to be a very similar thing here. What is this person interested in? What have they got? What, this and the other. People care about other people and what they're doing.
This is going to digitalize things that people have been doing forever. I love when people are like, this is so stupid. I'm like, you know what else is stupid? People that buy 900 little elephants from all around the world and have it displayed in their fucking living room. Why is that?
People
like,
collect.
What did I just say? What did I just say?
People collect back scratches.
Matchboxes. Like, you know what else is fucking stupid? That you bought keychains from every country you ever went to. That's fucking stupid. Comma. No, it's not. That's why hundreds of thousands of fucking people do it.
Or magnets.
Here's the difference. That's right. Or magnets. But here's the difference. If there's only 913 rare magnet from New Zealand's great rugby.
Can I just say something real quick, right? How many views does this have? 30K, right? This was posted a month ago. Just under. Literally one day. Now, this video's got 30,000 views, right? That is nothing. And this is why I truly believe this is why people who dislike Gary are people who watch him on TV networks and don't actually listen to anything he actually has to talk about. Because on TV networks, he can't speak for half an hour, for 40 minutes, and actually give his genuine thoughts. He has to play by the time because that's how that form of content works, right? But when you think about how many people are watching this versus, the million views that a CNN video will get where he's talking on it, and then they'll say, he's a this, he's a that, he's the other thing. No one actually ever listens to this part of the conversation where he's making his point abundantly clear.
Right now, the 913 people that own that have no connection to each other. This is going to create community under collectability in a way we've never seen. Why does everybody go to Comic-Con and love each other immediately? Why do I feel warm if I go to a Star Trek convention? Because these are people that enjoy the same thing that I do. Well, that feeling is now going to be on scale authentically, non-touchable, no fraud, in ledger form, and all the technologies that are going to be built on top of it to display that, to create closed communities around it, hasn't even started. Do you understand that I'm sitting here with obsession of thinking everything I'm going to do for the next 50 years to make sure that everybody who buys any of my tokens when I drop it,
it's going to have value.
Not only makes a fortune as an investment, but has a lifetime of memories.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the key, right? It's the longevity plan. It's the creators that are seeing these NFTs as not just an art piece, but a thing to continuously add value to. And I think a couple of really good examples stand out is when Justin Blau dropped his art pieces, and then you could use that NFT as a token to enter his club in Decentraland. And it was like this club with unreleased music. And, this was a special thing. When he said that, I was like, oh crap, I want one now, right? And also Mark Cuban dropping NFTs and saying, hey, I'll do a 30-second shout out. Powerful. You get Mark Cuban to talk about what you want by buying this NFT. They were selling for tens of thousands of dollars, and he can continuously add value to those NFTs. That's the key for 100%. 10, 20, 30, 50 years. That's the biggest key. The NFT has unlimited utility. And I think
and
no one gets that.
And the people and organizations that try to bring more value to the audience than the short-term economics for themselves. Maddie, I have no clue what my launch is going to do. I really don't. I don't have a fucking clue. I'm going to Dutch auction.
He sold out. I mean, he sold out. The NFT sold out, to be clear.
Scared for manipulation. So I'm Dutch auctioning, right? I really have no clue. I'm going to do some buy it nows for my original fans. I don't know what's going to happen. But let me make you a promise on one of the more important podcasts in this community, in my opinion. When I know what happened, when it's all said and done, that kind of initial, if that's $1 or if it's $1 billion, I'm going to spend my life making sure that that's going to be a multiplier for every person that touch it, instead of what I'm seeing right now, where a lot of humans take a quick bag and go to sleep. There are fucking humans that are famous right now who just made hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars selling an NFT and have literally moved on.
That's the problem, right?
Think that it was a good deal for humans on the other side, bought a digital asset of them, by the way, usually, which is ridiculous. And that's it. And celebrating it. And I'm just listening to, I'm doing quick, I'm so fucking busy. But every second I get 9 minutes to go into a room on Clubhouse, people are celebrating this. And I'm like, what about the people that are sitting with the bag? I'm very glad that you, millionaire, have made more money. And listen, I'm not anti-entrepreneurship. So let there be no confusion with my tone right now. Go make 47 trillion. If you fucking did the things that led to that, you did that. So I'm about that. But I'm worried that somebody bought a picture of someone for $100,000 because I already know once every person has a picture of them in the next 2 years, that the supply and demand of that asset is going to not be $100,000. It's probably going to be $97. Maddie?
Especially, there's like thousands of celebrities, sports players.
There's not a celebrity on earth or influencer on earth right now that hasn't talked to their management or their brains, whoever that is, whether that's themselves or people around them, about NFTs. There's not one that exists that hasn't done it.
Yeah, it's huge, man. But you know what the cool thing is, Gary? And this is the cool, an NFT special, is that you can sell NFTs and then people can forget about the project. And then 3 years later, they can dig it back up again and suddenly those NFTs have value. So these NFTs that are sold, right?
Dude, I haven't bought. Yeah, I love you for saying that. I'm desperately trying to get my ass together and spend 4 hours on Mooncats, right? Haven't bought any. I think somebody I always love saying everything because I'm scared that people are like, you know, I believe, somebody gifted me one. My brother AJ gave me one of my wallets to send one. So that means I own one. I've never bought one, but that was cool as shit. I've been busy the last month, so I didn't really it seems, maybe you can correct me here, because again, you know, just too much information, too much going on in my life, but it seems like it was this lost project, quote unquote. And seems like it's very early, 2007, 17, 18. It sounds like 18 if I remember. And it's cool. I'm excited about it. I'm definitely hoping that I get my shit together and I'm able to go buy some.
Interesting, man. Yeah, it's crazy because
I definitely like the 17, 18 projects. I definitely like them. I don't know how many there are. I'm wondering if there's any other lost ones.
I think, so this is an interesting thing. I wanted to make some sort of a timeline, and someone made one actually of the projects and their launches on blockchain, like when they actually hit blockchain, because then we can have a timeline as to when all of these came online. I'd love to look
at it. I
think there is a website. I'll send it to you after. Yeah, I will.
Please, I really want to see that. So anyway, I like that. I like those projects. And to your point, I'll give you an example. If I, Gary Vaynerchuk, was in 2007, saw NFTs the exact same way, I would have launched this project. The difference is I would have had 4,000 people in the wine world give a shit. Right? But then as my next 14 years kind of progressed, you know, like when I started GaryVee and had it kind of 5 years ago, I would call it another pop. Somebody would have been like, oh shit, I'm going back and buying those. Those are only 0.3 ETH. And then as my career progressed, and I think to your point, like one of my favorite, this is why I tell people to buy shit they like. It's like music. See art, think collectible too. That's fine. And money, like that's fine. I'm never going to poo-poo that. I hate when people are like, this should just be art. I'm like, well, that's not fair. You get to tell people that they're not allowed. That's not fair. But I'm so excited about somebody finding a project they like, 0.01 ETH or wax or flow. You know, I'm agnostic. It's all going to end up in one place. And can you imagine? You're like, oh, these are just fresh fucking logos. You buy it for that. And then 9 years later, that person becomes Virgil Abloh or Banksy and it pops. There's going to be some fucking cool shit.
Yeah.
Which is why I think a very good strategy for anybody who's listening is buy shit that speaks to you, because if it speaks to you, it may speak to others. And eventually this is going to be everywhere. And it's not just going to be certain voices, whales, or people with audiences that are going to, it's like the masses will take over which projects matter.
Mm-hmm. And I think right now is the most riskiest, because right now people are listening to those influencers. They're listening to people with an audience, whether we want them to listen or not. And that's why it's so risky. And I like how you clarified that you were given a moon cat, not bought one, because that's important.
I don't know if you've watched how I've moved the last 2 months. I'm petrified to say anything because I don't know. You know, I've talked about punks, right? I've talked about loving Top Shot overall, very concerned about because that's the world I really know, individual sports cards. So I know. I just mentioned for the first time Mooncats. I've said it here.
With Fiverr's content experts on the case, they'll help you manage, design, animate, or write copy for your.
I've not said another thing outside of this, what I'm saying right now, about the project, because I know if I did, that right now everyone's so on tilt that even though I have literally, and I think you know this, in every single interview, podcast said 99% are going to fail, be careful. The macro is unbelievable all time. The micro, even that, anytime I even begin to flirt with a statement about something, shill, you're manipulating the market. Like, you know, you're in a really shitty spot if you have an audience. Yeah. I can't even speak to things that I think I like. I'm also scared in the other direction. For example, art blocks, right? People love, like, I don't like art. I like characters. I don't like Jackson Pollock. I like Andy Warhol, right? Like I like pop culture. So I'm even scared to like say things I'm not as in love with that people are really hot on, because I'm just scared that somebody may take that the wrong way. And then like, I couldn't live with myself if the next day the thing's down 25% and people, there's so much thoughtfulness. And I think people are not being thoughtful. And so I'm trying to be thoughtful because I want to, look back at how I navigated these unprecedented times with pride. And
Okay, we are back. I had to take a call. That's why I might have been looking around like this, that, and the other, because, yeah, I had to take a call. But anyway, let's get back into it.
The way I'm thinking about things, Maddie.
Yeah, you know what? The scary thing and the scary factor that we have to take into account, and sometimes we can't do anything about it, is blockchain, man. Blockchain allows money to transfer like this. If someone has a decision that they want to make, you tweet something, or I tweet something, or anyone tweets something that says a word, boom, you can click a button and you can buy one. Money transfers that quickly. It's not a credit card. And a lot of this money is kind of money that people have made in 10x over the last, 6 months. And so there's a community here that are playing with house money, in the sense of there's so much extra money they have that they've made. And then there's a community here with hard-earned cash trying to get involved.
Correct.
Right? One is splurging to experiment. One is trying to invest and trying to take it seriously and trying to be very diplomatic. But it's difficult because it's there's so much intersect of everything crazy right now. Another question, and this kind of puts me into the next question, is how do you navigate through the fear and a bit of uncertainty? And I think a lot of new creators coming into this space, it's a bit overwhelming, because I remember putting out some tweets and saying, it's a good time to build your social media. It's a good time to do this, and then a good time to do that. But there's so much happening. How do you have any advice for anyone that are a bit fearful of the rapid change of everything, and how do they take part in this if it's moving too fast, right?
I want to define how you view, give me a scenario with fear, because I'm obsessed with the concept of fear. I think it's a perspective vulnerability that doesn't need to be there. So for example, fear. Let me give you how I heard the question and clarify for me another example, if you don't mind. You want to invest in something, but there's so much going on, you're not sure if you're blockchain, and then you learn that the media could disappear every day, right? Mm-hmm. Play with money you can afford to lose when things are in this moment. If there's a person listening or watching right now that is putting money into NFTs, that if it goes to zero would disproportionately change their life, they are making a monstrous, catastrophic mistake. During these innovative times that are very wild.
I want to pause on this because it's something that ECOMI people who have invested in ECOMI, and obviously OMI, for everyone who's invested pretty much, has not been a good, really not a good short-term investment. No, let's be real. But this is why when people say, I hope this coin goes up, I got bills to pay, man. Yeah, we'll pay those bills, but not with OMI money, because that ain't gonna happen, is it? You gotta play with what you can afford. It's not, that's always, I feel like that's always been the before crypto. If you're investing in stocks, whatever it might be, play with money that you can afford. That you can afford to lose, to be very clear.
West, very pirate ship, just very murky waters, very exciting. I mean, this is, I'm sure for you and I, this is exciting. This is the thrill of the hunt. There's a lot. Not a penny will I put into NFT affect, if it all goes to zero, affect my responsibilities. And I think that everybody should do that. And whether that's $1 million for the incredibly well off and accomplished, or whether that's $13.19, play with money that you can lose, buy things that you like. And if you're going to invest because you don't like it, but you think it's going to make money, do 30, 50 hours of homework.
Each project.
At least
30 to 50 hours of homework. So I think you can get the overall sense of NFTs.
Yeah.
To your point of each project, pattern recognition, it's so much easier now. Mooncats took me an hour and 3 minutes, right? Versus punks took me 3 days, right? You got to, once you get the foundations down.
That's true. That's
right. You start understanding.
Yeah. You start to see what's important, especially once you have some experience and you see some money come back, some money go up or whatever. Good advice there, man. What's some skills do you think that would help people in this new age? Because it's moving so fast, man. It's everything's intersecting. I just feel like
as a creator or as an investor, as a collector, I'm going to
say as a creator, because as an investor, I don't know, it's a hard question to ask you because I'm not sure if you are a creator.
Actually, listen, one of the things.
Sorry, can I just butt in as an investor? Right, as an investor, I totally lost my train of thought.
Getting a couple of pieces. I'd love to show.
What was he saying? Hold up.
And I know it's a hard question to ask you because I'm not sure if you are a creator.
Actually, listen, one of the things, D-Rock, you mind
I
getting
can't
a
remember what I
couple
was
of
going to
pieces? I'd
say.
love to show. I'll let Maddie. When are you
My
planning
apologies.
on airing this, Manny?
Me?
Well,
3 days?
You're doing audio, so we won't have to show this video until after. So
I'll be doing audio and video. Is that cool? On YouTube?
yes. Can you blur this out?
Yeah.
Cool. So like these things that I'm drawing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and obviously I've been putting some of these on social, so it's not even that big of a deal. Anyway, nonetheless, you don't need to blur it out. I just realized I forgot I've been sharing. Yeah, positive. Thank you, though. I have a huge recommendation for creators. One of the things I realized is in '95, I saw the internet. I wasn't a tech kid. I launched a website immediately. I had to get my hands dirty. In 2006, I saw social media, personal brand. I had never aspired to be an author, an actor, a personality, never gave a speech in my life. What did I do? Jumped right in and became a creator. NFTs, like I can understand it intellectually from an investment and a businessman standpoint. If I'm going to be really of it, I got ink on my hands, right? So I'm a creator, and I have a huge recommendation. Make what you love and make your project about the audience. If you can, it's so simple. Don't listen to somebody that says, oh, characters do better than images, or colors do better than black and white, or other IP remixes are better than your. Fuck all that. If you're a creative, create. Maddie, almost everything I've done, people told me I was wrong. Gary, you can't be a public speaker if you curse. You know how much I was told that? Right? Gary, people like lighting and audio. My first 1,000 episodes of Blind Library TV, I wasn't even mic'd. Poor D-Rock had a fight for like 3 months to even get me mic'd. I film shit with the wrong lighting all the time. I have raccoon eyes. I look like shit. I don't give a fuck. I make what I want. No second take, no this, you know what I mean? And it's worked for me because it's me. By the way, if you're the reverse, lighting's got to be on point. Do it 16 takes. Do you, because there is no rules from a creative standpoint. B, and more importantly, in my opinion, think about the other person. Think about the person who's going to buy it. Now, for example, if you're like, fuck you, Gary, I'm not even worried about economics. I'm an artist and I want the person to enjoy it. Great. Good news. Doesn't sound like you have to overthink your contracts, right? You basically, at its most basic level, does the person get the physical? Are you even making a physical? Are you just doing
let's attach VeVe to this, right? VeVe is making NFTs based on IPs that people already know and love. So they've basically skipped out the first part of the art process because it's already art, right? It's art. Let's be careful, actually. Art from people who don't have massive IPs is still art. What I mean by that is it's already art that is valued by many millions of people and therefore will sell because of the value to many millions of people.
Sounds like all you have to do is figure out your royalty. Like, right? But if you're worried about them, do you want your royalty to be 1% instead of the 10%? Or do you want to do 20% because you don't think the 10% pseudo standard that's emerging is right? I'm going to do a bunch of my tokens that are going to give a percentage to charity. Like, do things on the other side and you can run the gamut. For me, I think of the art as the last piece, even though I know a lot of my characters are going to speak to people and some are going to buy just for the character. A lot of the real unveiling, which is not the imaging, but like everything I'm actually doing that will be here soon enough. I'm aiming officially to be,
Can't wait.
I'm aiming for May 5th. I may not hit it. A lot of tech, building a lot of stuff. But I'm incredibly excited about everything I'm doing on that front. And I'm spending pretty much all my time on the contract part. So just do you and do them, right?
Yeah. I think it's that last sentence is really important because it's like, how do you think, in my view, and what really kind of helped me a lot as being an entrepreneur was to think how much more value can I give than take, right? Like, how can this value share be more beneficial for the person on the other side than it is for me? And as soon as I did that and I started to just continue to give more value than I got, I was like, oh, wow, this it just makes so much sense. I understand how business continues or longevity is continuing. And that's why like projects like yours or projects that continue to compound utility to NFTs make so much sense, because they click, right? It's an ability for us to continue to do that. So for artists, like you said, can I give a physical with this? How can someone benefit with my art? What can I do to help them? Obviously not doing it to a point of stress, but just keeping it in mind.
This.
I see it.
This is my life. My life is 5149. I'm not 100-0. I'm not out here trying to be a Buddha. I'm a businessman. I love it. I love the game. It's who I am. I'm an entrepreneur and I'm proud of it. But I think I can give 51% of the value to the other person, because I know what to do with my 49.
That's a good way to put it.
And I really like it. And I think that, when I die, that last day, if I know it's happening, I'm going to feel really good, because I think I really have figured out something. And I'm a young man now, and I hope to continue this conversation for 50 years, that there's good ways to do things. That selfish, selfless works.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, if you can be 51% selfless and 49% selfish, there's something real powerful there. And you clearly clicked for you somewhere along the way. And for me too. And it has been the message out of my mouth. And it's why business is beautiful to me. There's bad versions of everything. There's shit teachers, there's shit cops, there's shit politicians, there's shit mothers. And so that means there's shit businessmen and women. But if you really look, there's such a truth to the marketplace, to the brand, that the brands that win are giving 51 to 49.
True. That is true, man. That is true. A couple of last questions. What would your advice be I know this is hard, but what would your advice be for someone with $1,000 compared to someone with $1 million in terms of investing?
For me, if you're $1,000, you're definitely thinking about the lower gas fee projects, right? Because it's kind of like devastating to pay the gas fee on an Ethereum project. So Wax, Flow, some other, right? That's one thing to keep in mind. $1 million, I think you go to where we talked about 17, 18 projects, and listen, I want to be one of those guys. My biggest hope, Maddie, honestly, is that my project is referenced for what is done well in 2022. That's my if you ask me a selfish goal that is actually very selfless, is that mine goes so well that it stops everyone in their tracks and says, oh, wait a minute, let's go back to the back cave. We got to think this, and the lab, we got to think through our shit. Who gives a fuck if we're making a sparkly version of it? Like this, we need to like really think. And I think if you got $1 million, you're looking at OG projects, because they'll always be OG. Everyone talks about provenance. Well, guess what? And documentation and legending. There you go. That timeline fucking matters. For example, you said that timeline. When you send it to me, and I'm gonna bug you in an hour if you don't send it to me. That's how excited I am about it. I'll tell you why. You're gonna love this. I immediately thought about the first thing. I said, I wonder what the 5th official Ethereum project is, because for me, the number 5 is everything. It's my jam. It's why I put my hand like this in photos.
Interesting.
Yeah, my mom knitted me this sweater. I got a whole thing to it, right? Anyway, I'm literally curious if there's going to be, and I know some of this is going to be whoever put that together. There's a lot of hard work. There might be a lost project, but I'm immediately going to look at whatever's considered the 5th project and like probably dig into it for several hours. Be like, okay, I want to get behind, Yeah,
no, it's really cool.
So I think if you've got $1 million OG projects, or if Pokemon comes out in 6 months, which is an incredible IP, if Star Wars comes out, incredible IP, if Disney comes out, incredible IP.
So
if Marvel,
all the ones that were like, kind of like VeVe, Disney, Marvel. What was the other ones?
Out, incredible IP. If
Pokemon
Disney comes out, incredible IP. If Marvel comes out, incredible IP. And they do it well. This is why I want the 30 to 50 hours of education. You and I will DM each other or text each other the second one of those 4 projects launches their real one. And we'll both chat of like, did they do it well?
Yeah.
Like, do we like it? And I may think Pokemon's better than Harry Potter IP, but if Harry Potter structures its economy and smart contract ecosystem in a dramatically better way than Pokemon did, I may actually go into Potter, not Pokemon. Got it?
Got it, man.
Yeah.
I hope Pokemon does it right. Like that's my
I hope Pokemon does it right too. Because
You know what's interesting, Gary?
please,
I think because it's such a phase where we're all learning, right? Even these big IPs are learning. If they do it wrong, and then somewhere along the way, 1 year later, they're like, oh, okay, maybe we should re-release with this proper strategy. I wonder if, because it's going to be a 20, 30, 50 year thing now, digital assets. I wonder if that first release will become more important or more collectible thing. So this is like the whole game, right?
Or less important, or, you know, like, or what was official. I mean, there's a lot of people that are putting out very, very kind of like amateur projects with good IP right now. Mm-hmm. And we've seen that through the years. Like, you know, I
think people are more concerned to be first than right.
What's that, brother?
I think people are more concerned about being first than being properly structured.
And let me give you a comp in sports cards. There are cards that are made that are not considered the rookie card, that are years earlier than the rookie card, because one of them was done better by a better company.
Right.
So there's a company called Star Cards that made basketball cards. Hakeem Olajuwon, Michael Jordan, Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing, Karl Malone, John Stockton, all have cards made in 83, 84, 85, 86, before Fleer 86 came out. Stockton was 88 by the time he had his rookie card. Now, that brand Star got fucked up because there was a big counterfeit issue with it. Back to funny, haha, here we are with the blockchain, right? But also, even when it was less of the counterfeit issue, when I was in the game in the 90s, they were rare, but still not more important than the Fleer. And so, you know, I could see somebody going with a company launching through them, but then changing its chain and doing it direct. Like, there's a lot, to your point, that's about to happen. And I'm excited about it. And I'm excited about it because I've got 30 years of experience, 40 years actually, Jesus. No, 30 years. 30 plus years of experience around understanding collectibles, how people work, and I'm excited about that.
Awesome, man. Last question. Please. What is some of your, because you just have so much experience and this is like your place, right? Collectability, collecting, what are some key cultural things or parts of the economy that are important for people to keep an eye on? So history, age, and all that sort of stuff, but you know, you got some.
History, age, of course, but scarcity, math matters. But let me tell you where everybody gets fucked up, Maddie. People struggle with demand. Supply is binary. There are 1,000 of these, but they struggle with demand. You know, I'm very bullish on Michael Jordan's rookie card, the PSA 10. There's 317 of them. Sometimes my friends are like, Gary, but there's 317 of them. I'm like, yes, but do you know how many people want that card? They're like, yeah, but there's only 18 of this one. I'm like, yes, but that's not Michael Jordan. So I would tell you the number one thing I can tell you, Maddie, that everyone misses, and I see it happening in NFT, is demand. You know why they struggle with demand, Maddie? Because demand is something you have to feel.
There's no formula to it?
Well, there's going to be some formulas to it. For example, it seems like Discord culture for projects is real. So you could go into a Discord of a project you stumble upon and see 400,000 people on that Discord. I have a funny feeling a smart man like you is going to be like, fuck. So there will be some, but it's
VeVe. Although I'm not sure if VeVe has 400,000, but they definitely have 300k plus people on the app.
But it'll never be real, no matter how many people, because there'll be too many people that are not part of demand is misunderstood. It's my great gift. It's why I was good at selling wine. It's why I'm good at most.
Now, this is interesting, right? Because VeVe has IPs that already have demand, but they're going to have to do it in a way that actually creates demand for that IP's NFT. Because it's all good. Well, I think Quid's a good example of this, right? It's all good having a license for Marvel or Disney or whatever, but if you're putting out a picture of Mickey versus if you're putting out a product that, you know, is able to walk around in augmented reality and do this, that, and the other that actually has some level of value to Disney fans, that's different.
Demand is an emotional intelligence. Supply is a mathematical understanding. So the number one thing that everyone's missing is how good are you at tasting, smelling, feeling, hearing demand, which means you're leaning into emotional intelligence, which most people haven't advanced on yet.
Yeah, good points, man.
Thank you.
Interesting. Yeah, I've got a couple of tools that I use for demand specifically. One of them is going into new Discords and just checking out the new members consistently for
100%.
before the project, during the project, even 2 months after the project. Are people continuously coming in? And also sales feeds. For example, how much I'm selling every day, before, during, and after. 3 months later, is it still selling? And again, you're right, man. Emotionally, and the culture and the people, it's hard to kind of get a sense of that. And I see you jumping into Discord, and I think that's what you're doing.
Yes, but you know what's funny? I've never, to your point, and kudos to you, and I'm glad you brought it up, I've done less math work. And I think there's a lot of ways, to your point, to do math around demand. I've always felt that that's the commodity. I can always get that information. It's, are you in the dirt, in the trenches, in the culture, in it, to understand it's coming? Because what you're talking about is things you can see that have happened. What I'm spending all my time on is knowing tomorrow is going to be the day that that Discord doubles in size. And by the time you see that post game, I've moved.
Predicting
On pulse.
Yeah. Cool, man.
That requires listening, by the way, on the record.
Yeah.
I always laugh when everyone's like, this guy's such a fucking loudmouth. I'm like, if they understood how much more listening I do than talking, they shit their fucking pants.
By the way, also, because this is coming to an end, I also want to point out version 1 is, so Gary owns, or at least has an ownership stake in version 1, which is what you're seeing on the hat right here. And actually, if you move his thingy here, that actually says version, I think it is. Awesome. Version 1 actually did really well in part of the Valorant essentially World Cup. It's called the Valorant Champions Tour. Valorant is something that, well, if you type in Valorant Hub into YouTube, that'll do enough for you to understand why I'm talking about Valorant. But...
So, man, thanks for the chat. It has been an honor. I've been waiting for this for a while, but your knowledge and your shares and your tips are always. I always read them because I know you come from a heavy collecting background, and this is, at least for the time being, a very collector heavy space. So again, Gary,
but Maddie, I'm going to say something else. I will believe my history of success in NFT will be more that I was a great community builder for 15 years around GaryVee than that I am a great collector. I think both ingredients are going to mean that I'm going to the moon. but and I appreciate you saying that. But I will tell you right now on the record, because I want to see how it plays out in 15 years. It was my knowledge of how communities are built, because I am one of the humans on earth that lived the last 15 years in influencer land, who I would argue has done it as well as anybody, mainly because I don't have a lot of the things that work for other people. I don't have shocking beauty. I don't have a television or movie platform to get awareness. Everything I've built has been brick by brick by brick from the dirt of very niche things, starting with little wine community to business.
And this is something that I put, and obviously I'm not comparing myself to GaryVee. Let's just make that very clear right now. I've made it very clear how much I respect him, this and the other, right? And how much I've learned from him. But this is how the parallels that I feel, like I say, are in gaming, right? Where we're even seeing actually Discord become a part of the NFT culture, right? Where Discord really is a gaming communication platform, or at least it has been only for the past 5-ish years, because I was one of the very first people on Discord back in the day, back about 5-6 years ago. And like that was back when Skype was starting to become less used by the gaming community, which, you know, if you were using Skype or if you were using TeamSpeak or Ventrilo or anything, you'll know. But this is, again, the parallels that I'm seeing. It's why I'm excited, is because I'm seeing the parallels of 2013 gaming. And if that means what I think it means, then this is about to be one of the biggest things in the entire world. So I'm very excited. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. I do apologize if like part of this video feels a bit segmented. Like I said, I had a really important call to take during this, which is why I had my phone on me and I was sort of chatting whilst also listening and stuff. But thanks for watching. I hope this video was interesting. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.